So in this video, I thought we'd do something a little different. It's not going to be a tutorial. It's just going to be an inking demonstration so that you guys can actually see how I transform a pencil drawing into a pen and ink drawing. If you're interested in these techniques, please go to one of my other videos that has the techniques that I'm using here. So the first thing that I'm doing here is going through and making all my pencil lines permanent. Now I'm not staying like perfectly on the pencil lines. They're just there to guide me. I can still make whatever changes I want to, because once I'm done with this process, then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of any pencil lines that still remain. You'll notice that in some areas I did not use smooth lines. So like on the right hand side there where the gills are going to be, I knew that those lines were going to be broken, so I just put in a few broken lines to kind of remind me later that those were where the gills were going to be. Once the ink was completely dried, I went ahead and rubbed out all the remaining pencil lines. Here I'm switching over to one of my brushes, it's a watercolor brush, and the first thing that I did on that scrap paper was to basically get my brush loaded and get it all trimmed out. Sharpen the brush, I guess you can call it. So now what I'm doing is I'm picking out areas that I want to be nice and dark, really, really dark. So I've already decided that my light source is going to be coming from the top right. So I'm using that as a guide as I add my deepest shadows. In addition to shadows, I'm also thinking about the texture that I need for the different areas. As I do this, I have to pay attention to the location of my hands, making sure that I'm not placing my hands in any areas that are wet. As you can see here with the brush, I'm actually changing the weight of the lines. In areas where I feel the lines are going to be in shadow, I make them much thicker. But in areas where I feel like they're going to be facing the light source, then I keep the lines much, much thinner. I go through the image, one area at a time, and just build up my shadows a little bit at a time. I also use the brush to suggest some of the different types of textures. So you can see here where the gills are, that those lines are more vertical than horizontal. The flow is horizontal, but the lines are actually vertical. And then by tapping the brush, I can suggest like little shadows underneath them. When using the brush, you can vary the weight very easily. When you want the lines to be nice and thin, you use very, very little pressure on the brush so that only the very tips of the bristles are touching the paper. However, when you want the lines to be a little bit thicker, you can press a little bit harder or turn the brush sideways a little bit. The technique that I'm using right now is called dry brushing. I'm still using pure ink, but I have very, very, very little ink on the brush. So as you can see, when I load the brush, I wipe off most of the ink on the scrap paper. And then I barely touch the paper as I lay this down because I want virtually no ink on the brush. I'm not doing line work right now. I'm just suggesting some shadows. Notice that the shadows are predominantly on the left side of the creature as we look at it. The right side, as we look at it, is facing the light source, so those areas stay much brighter. This technique is relatively easy, but you have to be patient. Once the brushwork is completely done, then I go back to my dip pen and I start fine-tuning, doing a little hatching, cross-hatching to strengthen up some areas, also to create some transitions between pure black and midtones. I'll also use it to add some different little textures just to add more interest to the drawing. I'm just about done with this drawing. Hopefully you enjoyed it and got a chance to see how this was transformed from a pencil drawing to a pen and ink drawing. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you for watching.